"You're wasting your life on those stupid games, Sarah. Get a real job before you end up homeless." Those words came from my dad's mouth at my 24th birthday dinner. Not "happy birthday," not "I'm proud of you," just pure disappointment wrapped in anger. Everyone at the table went silent. My mom stared at her plate. My older brother smirked like he'd been waiting for this moment his entire life. I was streaming video games for a living, building a community, creating content that millions of people watched every single day. But to my father, I was just a failure playing with toys in my childhood bedroom. "Dad, I'm making money. I'm paying my bills. Playing dress-up on the internet isn't a career," he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. The wine glasses trembled. My mom's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. She never did. My brother leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Face it, Sarah. You're 24 and still living like a teenager. It's embarrassing." I felt my throat tighten. My hands shook under the table. I wanted to scream, to defend myself, to show them the contracts I'd signed, the sponsorship deals I'd negotiated. But what was the point? They'd already decided who I was. I grabbed my purse and stood up. "Thanks for the birthday wishes," I said quietly. As I walked toward the door, my dad called out one last time, "Don't come crying to me when this all falls apart." I didn't turn around. I didn't cry, not yet, because deep down, I knew something they didn't, something that would change everything. But I had no idea just how much everything was about to change. I sat in my car outside the restaurant for 20 minutes, staring at my phone. My hands were still shaking. The birthday cake they'd ordered was probably still sitting on that table, untouched. Nobody had even sung to me. My phone buzzed. A text from my manager, Marcus. "Call me ASAP. Major news." I wiped my eyes and dialed. He picked up on the first ring. "Sarah, sit down if you're not already sitting," Marcus said, his voice electric with excitement. "I'm in my car." "What's going on?" "Apex Legends wants you as their official brand ambassador. North American campaign. Billboards, commercials, the whole package. They're offering 6 figures for the first year alone." I couldn't breathe. "What? And that's not all. They want your face on a billboard in Times Square. Launch date is 3 months from now." My vision blurred. Not from tears this time. From shock. From vindication. From everything I'd fought for finally becoming real. "Sarah, you there?" "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm just processing." "Process fast because we need an answer by tomorrow. This is the biggest deal I've ever negotiated. You've earned this." After we hung up, I sat in that parking lot for another hour. I thought about my dad's words, about my brother's smirk, about my mom's silence. I thought about every person who told me to get serious, every relative who asked when I'd find a real job, every former friend who stopped inviting me out because I was always working, and then I thought about something else. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a billboard 40 feet tall. 3 months flew by in a blur of contracts, photo shoots, and interviews. I moved out of my childhood bedroom and into a downtown loft with floor-to-ceiling windows. My streaming setup went from a cramped corner to a professional studio that would make any content creator jealous. But I didn't tell my family. Not a word. My mom called twice a week, always the same question. "Have you thought about going back to school, honey?" I'd give vague answers and change the subject. My brother texted once. "Dad's still mad. Just apologize and move on." I blocked his number. The Billboard launch was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon. Marcus called it perfect timing for maximum foot traffic. I called it poetic justice. "You should invite them," my best friend Riley said during our weekly coffee date. "Let them see it in person." "They don't deserve that moment," I replied, stirring my latte. "Maybe not, but you deserve to see their faces." That hit differently. She was right. I didn't want to hide anymore. I didn't want to shrink myself to make them comfortable. I wanted them to see exactly what they'd dismissed. So I sent a group text. "Family dinner at Russo's. Thursday, 6 p.m. My treat. Please come." My mom responded immediately. "Of course, sweetheart. So good to hear from you." My dad took 4 hours. "Fine." My brother. "Free food?" "I'm in." They had no idea what was waiting for them, no idea that 4 blocks from that restaurant, their failure daughter's face would be staring down from a 40-foot billboard, announcing a partnership worth more than my dad made in 2 years. Russo's had outdoor seating with a perfect view of Times Square. I made sure to request that exact table. Thursday arrived with clear skies and perfect lighting. I wore a black blazer, designer jeans, and the kind of confidence that only comes from knowing you've already won. I got to Russo's early and confirmed the table. Right on the edge of the patio. Direct sightline to where my billboard would light up at exactly 6:15 p.m. The restaurant manager recognized me from the campaign previews. "Ms. Chen, such an honor," he said, shaking my hand. "We're all so excited about the billboard. The whole staff wants photos later." "After dinner," I promised with a smile. My family arrived separately. Mom first, wearing her church dress and nervous smile. Dad second, in his work uniform, looking irritated to be there. My brother showed up last, already on his phone, barely acknowledging anyone. "Sarah, you look wonderful." Mom hugged me tight. "New clothes?" "Something like that," I said. We sat down. The tension was immediate. Dad barely looked at me. My brother ordered the most expensive steak without even glancing at the menu. They thought I was still broke, still struggling, still their charity case. "So," Dad said, cutting into his bread, "have you given any thought to what we discussed? About finding real work?" There it was. Less than 5 minutes in. "Actually, I have some news about work," I said calmly. My brother snorted. "What, you hit 1,000 subscribers? Want a cookie?" 7 million subscribers, actually, I said, my voice steady. "But that's not the news." Dad's fork stopped midair. Mom's eyes went wide. "The news is, well, you'll see it in about 4 minutes. My brother looked confused. "See what?" I just smiled and checked my watch. "So it's p.m. Any second now?" The digital billboard flickered to life at exactly 6:15 p.m. First, the Apex Legends logo blazed across the screen in brilliant red and orange. Then the image transitioned. My face, 40 feet tall, eyes fierce, headset on, controller in hand. The tagline beneath read, "Sarah Chen, official Apex Legends. Ambassador, the future of gaming is here." I watched my family's reactions in slow motion. My mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my God. Sarah, is that—" My brother's jaw literally dropped. His phone slipped from his hand onto the table. "No way, no freaking way." "But my dad?" He just stared. His face went from confusion to recognition to something I'd never seen before. Complete and utter shock. That's you?" he whispered. "That's me," I said, taking a sip of my water. "Times Square billboard, 6-figure contract. Magazine features next month. Oh, and I'm keynoting at the Gaming Developers Conference in March." The people at surrounding tables started noticing, pointing, whispering. A teenage girl approached our table nervously. "Excuse me, are you Sarah Chen?" "Oh my God, you are! Can I get a photo?" "Of course," I said warmly, standing up to take a selfie with her. She was shaking with excitement. "You're literally my hero. You inspired me to start streaming. My parents finally support it because of you." Those words hit my dad like a physical blow. I could see it in his face. After the girl left, the silence at our table was deafening. My brother kept looking between me and the billboard like he was trying to solve an impossible equation. My mom started crying. "Honey, why didn't you tell us?" I met my dad's eyes directly. "Because you never asked." My dad pushed his plate away. His hands were trembling slightly. I'd never seen him look so small. "Sarah, he started, then stopped. Words seemed to fail him for the first time in my life. My brother found his voice first. "How much are they paying you?" Of course that's what he cared about. "Enough," I said simply. "Enough to never worry about rent. Enough to pay off my student loans in full last month. Enough to buy Mom that car she's been wanting." My mom's tears fell harder. "Sarah, you don't have to—" "I want to," I interrupted gently. "It's already ordered. Gets delivered next week." Another family at a nearby table recognized me. Then another. A small crowd started forming near our patio section. Restaurant staff had to politely manage the situation. My dad watched all of this happening. Watched strangers treat his daughter like someone important, someone valuable, someone who'd made something of herself. "I need some air," he said abruptly, standing up. "Dad," my mom reached for him. "I said I need air," he snapped, walking away from the table toward the street. My brother looked uncomfortable for the first time all evening. "He'll come around. He's just, you know how he is." "Yeah," I said coldly. "I know exactly how he is." But then something unexpected happened. An older man in an expensive suit approached our table. Distinguished, probably in his 60s, with kind eyes. "Excuse me, are you Sarah Chen?" he asked. "I am." He extended his hand. "Robert Mitchell. I'm your father's boss at the construction firm." My entire body went cold. My brother's eyes widened. "I've been following your career," Mr. Mitchell continued. "Your father never mentioned you were his daughter. What an incredible accomplishment." And suddenly, everything clicked into place. Mr. Mitchell pulled up a chair without waiting for an invitation. My mom looked like she might faint. "Your father talks about his family sometimes," he said, settling in. "Always mentions your brother's sales job. Never mentioned you at all." I only made the connection when I saw the Billboard announcement last week and recognized the last name. My brother shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Mitchell, I'm sure Dad just—" "Your father told me he had 2 children," Mr. Mitchell interrupted. "He said his daughter worked retail and wasn't particularly ambitious. Those were his exact words at our company Christmas party. The words hit like bullets. Retail, not ambitious. He'd erased my entire existence and replaced it with a lie." "That's not true," my mom said weakly. "He's proud of Sarah. He just doesn't understand her work." "Doesn't understand?" Mr. Mitchell raised an eyebrow. "Mrs. Chen, I showed him an article about your daughter in Forbes last month. Gaming industry rising stars under 25. He looked at it for 5 seconds and said, 'That's nice,' then changed the subject." I felt something break inside my chest. It wasn't surprise. It was confirmation of what I'd always known deep down. He was ashamed of me. My dad returned to the table at that exact moment, stopping dead when he saw his boss sitting there. "Robert," he said, his voice strangled. "What are you— I didn't know you'd be here." "Clearly," Mr. Mitchell stood up. "I was just congratulating your daughter on her remarkable achievement. The one you never mentioned. The Times Square billboard. The 6-figure contract. Ring any bells, Tom?" My dad's face went from pale to red. "I can explain—" "Explain what? That you're ashamed of a daughter who's more successful than most people achieve in a lifetime?" The entire patio went silent. Even the street noise seemed to fade. Everyone was watching now. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was a public reckoning. My dad's jaw clenched. "This is a private family matter, Robert." "Is it?" Mr. Mitchell's voice was sharp. "Because you made it company business when you lied about your daughter's career at work events. When you let me believe she was struggling. When you never corrected me during all those conversations about supporting our children's dreams." My mom reached for Dad's hand. He pulled away. "I didn't lie," my dad said through gritted teeth. I didn't think gaming was legitimate. I still don't." "You don't think a 6-figure contract is legitimate?" Mr. Mitchell gestured toward the massive billboard still rotating through its display. "You don't think millions of followers is legitimate?" "Tom, my 16-year-old grandson, watches Sarah's streams. He wants to study game design because of creators like her. She's changing an entire industry." My brother tried to intervene. "Mr. Mitchell, maybe we should—" "Your sister invited you all here for a reason," Mr. Mitchell cut him off. "She wanted you to see what you've been dismissing, what you've been mocking, and instead of celebrating her, your father walked away." I found my voice finally. It came out steady, stronger than I expected. "Dad, do you want to know the worst part? It wasn't that you didn't believe in me. It was that you never even tried to understand. You never watched a single stream, never asked about my work, never wanted to know why millions of people connect with what I create. Because it's not real." My dad exploded. Real work is construction. Real work is what I do every day, breaking my back to provide for this family. Real work isn't sitting in front of a camera playing children's games. The silence that followed was crushing. Mr. Mitchell shook his head slowly. Tom, I'm disappointed. Truly. Your daughter has built something remarkable, and you can't see past your own pride to recognize it. He turned to me. Sarah, my company sponsors several gaming tournaments. I'd love to discuss partnership opportunities. Here's my card. Call me next week. I took the card with shaking hands. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. He nodded respectfully, then looked at my father one last time. Tom, we'll talk Monday morning. About perspective, and about what real success actually looks like. As Mr. Mitchell walked away, my dad stood frozen. His boss had just publicly humiliated him, defended me, validated everything I'd built. My mom was crying openly now. Tom, please, just apologize to her. Apologize? My dad's voice cracked. Apologize for wanting my daughter to have stability? Security? A normal life? I have all of that. I stood up, my voice carrying across the patio. I have more stability than you ever gave yourself credit for. I own my apartment, Dad. I bought it. At 24. How old were you when you could say that? He had no answer. My brother finally spoke, his voice quiet. Dad, maybe you should listen. Not you too, Dad snapped. Don't tell me you support this circus. It's not a circus, my brother said, and I was shocked to hear something like respect in his voice. It's actually pretty incredible. I looked her up after dinner last time. She's got more followers than some celebrities. She's actually kind of a big deal. The admission cost him something. I could see it. But my dad just shook his head. I need to leave. Tom, my mom pleaded. No, I'm done. I'm not going to stand here and pretend this is okay. That this is what I wanted for my daughter. He walked away for the second time that night. This time he didn't look back. My mom sobbed into her napkin. My brother sat motionless, staring at his untouched steak. And I stood there, watching my father's silhouette disappear into the New York crowd, understanding with perfect clarity that some people would never change. But I also knew something else. Something important. I didn't need his approval anymore. 2 weeks passed. My mom called every day, crying, begging me to just talk to him. My brother sent awkward texts. Dad's not doing great. Maybe give him time? I didn't respond. The Billboard campaign exploded. My follower count doubled. Brand deals flooded in. Magazine covers, podcast interviews. I was everywhere, and my father's silence was deafening. Then Riley called me at midnight on a Tuesday. Sarah, you need to see this. Check your dad's Facebook. My hands shook as I opened the app. I hadn't looked at his profile in years. He barely used social media, usually just sharing construction memes and political posts. But his most recent post stopped my heart. It was a photo of my billboard, taken from street level, looking up. The caption read, "My daughter Sarah, I was wrong." That was it. 3 words. But the comments section was chaos. His coworkers, Tom, she's amazing. You must be so proud. His brother, my uncle. About time you admitted it. Former neighbors. We've been watching her streams. She's incredible. And then, at the bottom, a comment from Mr. Mitchell. It takes courage to admit when we're wrong. That's the Tom I know. My phone rang. Dad's number. I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Sarah. His voice was rough, broken. Can we talk, please? I'm listening, I said carefully. Not on the phone. In person? There's something I need to show you. Something I should have shown you a long time ago. Dad, if this is another lecture... It's not, he said urgently. Please, tomorrow morning. Our old house. Just you and me. I'm begging you. I'd never heard him beg for anything in my life. 10 a.m., I said finally. Don't make me regret this. I won't, I promise. The next morning, I pulled into my childhood driveway. Dad was waiting on the porch, holding a cardboard box. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. Come inside. We sat at the kitchen table where he'd called me a failure on my birthday. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. He pushed the box toward me. Open it. Inside were notebooks. Dozens of them. I pulled one out and opened it. Drawings. Detailed, beautiful drawings of buildings, landscapes, fantasy worlds. Page after page of incredible artwork. Dad, did you draw these? He nodded, not meeting my eyes. When I was your age. 23, 24. I wanted to be an artist. An architect. I had a portfolio ready for art school. My breath caught. My father told me art wasn't a real job. That I'd starve. That I needed to be practical, learn a trade, be a man. His voice cracked. So I put these away. Got into construction. Never drew again. Oh my God. The realization hit me like a train. You weren't angry at me, I whispered. You were angry at yourself. He finally looked up, tears streaming down his weathered face. I was terrified you'd end up like me, full of regret, full of what-ifs. But you didn't. You fought for your dream and you won. And instead of celebrating that, I tried to break you the way I was broken. I held one of his notebooks, really looking at the drawings. They were breathtaking. Detailed architectural sketches mixed with fantasy castles and impossible cityscapes. This was talent. Real, undeniable talent that had been buried for 30 years. Dad, these are incredible, I said, my own voice breaking now. They're nothing. They're the past. He wiped his eyes roughly. But you, Sarah, you're the future I was too scared to fight for. And I almost destroyed you because I couldn't face my own cowardice. I set the notebook down carefully. Why didn't you ever tell me this? Because I was ashamed. Because admitting I gave up on my dreams meant admitting my father was right to make me give up. And I couldn't face that truth. We sat in silence for a long moment. Outside, a car passed. A dog barked. Life continued like it always does. When Mr. Mitchell showed me that Forbes article, Dad continued. I saw your face and I saw myself at 24. The hope in your eyes. The determination. Everything I used to have before I let it die. And it made me furious because you had the courage I never did. Dad, let me finish. He said firmly but gently. That night at the restaurant, when I saw that billboard, when I saw strangers celebrating you, when my own boss told me what real success looks like, something broke open inside me. Or maybe something finally healed. I don't know. He pulled out his phone and showed me his screen. It was a website. Adult art classes. At the community college. I enrolled yesterday. Figure drawing. Starting next month. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Dad, that's amazing. I'm 30 years late. But you taught me something, Sarah. It's never too late to stop being afraid. I reached across the table and took his calloused, paint-stained hand. I forgive you. He broke down completely then, sobbing like a child, 30 years of regret pouring out in my mother's kitchen. When he finally composed himself, he looked at me with something I'd never seen before. Respect. I'm sorry I couldn't say this on your birthday. I'm sorry I wasted months being stubborn and stupid. But I'm saying it now, and I mean it with everything I have. I am so incredibly proud of you, Sarah. You're braver than I ever was. You're living the life I was too scared to fight for. I learned from the best, I said softly. You taught me work ethic, dedication, perseverance. You just didn't realize those same values apply to every dream, not just the ones you approved of. He nodded slowly. Will you teach me about your world? I want to understand, really understand. I'd love that. We talked for 3 more hours. I showed him my streams, explained my content strategy, walked him through brand partnerships. He asked questions, real questions, listened to every answer. As I was leaving, he stopped me at the door. Sarah, that billboard, can you get me a photo of it? Professional quality? I want to frame it. Put it in my office at work. I smiled through fresh tears. Already ordered you one, Dad. It's being delivered next week. 6 months later, my dad's sketches were in a local gallery show. Small, just a community event. But he was glowing with pride, showing Mom and me around like a kid at show and tell. And on his phone's home screen? My billboard, where it would stay forever. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are just fighting their own ghosts. Sometimes forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about understanding that we're all just trying to figure out this messy, complicated thing called life. My dad was wrong about a lot of things, but he was right about one. Real jobs do exist. They're just not always the ones our parents imagined for us. They're the ones we're brave enough to build ourselves.